Welcome to the Payoff Pitch Prospect Report. I'm your host, Paul Valley. And jumping right into things, the Orioles, as we talked about at length, have drafted Adley Rutschman with the first overall pick. And the reason why we're talking about that on the Prospect Report is Bobby Witt Jr., the second overall pick, the Texas high school shortstop, picked second overall by the Kansas City Royals. He just signed with the Royals for a full slot deal of $7,789,900. Got the full slot. Which leads me to expect Adley Rutschman to sign for right around $8 million, maybe a little under slot. The full slot for that first overall pick is $8,415,300. I think the Orioles might save a little bit of money, which might help them give a little bit more to Gunnar Henderson to ensure that he actually signs with the ball club instead of going to college. And then I would expect Rutschman, who again I think will get right around $8 million. I would expect him to. At first, I thought that he would just start at Delmarva, but I think they have a really good thing going there, and I don't think they want to mess with what's going on. Not that they really take that into consideration because they're all there to help groom players for the Major League team. But I think Rutschman will probably get his feet wet at Aberdeen. Elias said that he's called a lot of games at college this year and last year, so they don't really see him catching too much. This year, they just want to get him into pro ball, get him swinging a bat against professional pitchers. So I'd imagine he'll get his feet wet at Aberdeen and probably start next year at Frederick and then move through that system quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish a year at AA or even AAA next year. Another guy, Austin Hayes, who the Orioles were really counting on this year to go down to Norfolk, put up some good numbers and potentially join the team as their everyday center fielder in the late spring, early summer. But we all know he hurt his thumb after getting sent to the minor league camp during spring training. Slid into second base, hurt his thumb. Just came back recently. He's hitting .236 in the minors. He hit .162 in 9 games at Frederick, .268 in 14 games at Bowie, and in his 3 games at Norfolk, he's hitting .308. I don't expect to see Hayes get as quickly promoted from Norfolk to the Major League roster. I think Norfolk's where they wanted him to be all along. I think he could be there for a solid 2 months before they call him up, unless Keon Broxton really struggles that much, and then Austin Hayes will be the guy to come up and take his place in center field. Until then, probably going to be at Norfolk for the foreseeable future. Another guy who is pitching really well for Delmarva right now, Drew Rom. He's the Orioles' number 27 prospect, 19 years old, was just drafted last year. He's allowed just 1 earned run over his last 39 2/3 innings pitched. Last night, took a tough luck loss, gave up 1 unearned run with 1 hit allowed in 5 innings, striking out 8 batters while walking 3. Actually lowered his season ERA to 1.23, which is the lowest ERA of any starter in the organization, major leagues or minor leagues. And a lot of the spotlight is put on his teammate, Grayson Rodriguez, and rightfully so. He's a first-round pick who's been dominating down in Delmarva. But Drew Rom has followed him stride for stride and has actually, in some ways, outperformed Grayson Rodriguez, somebody that we're not really talking about a lot. They're really monitoring his innings, so you'll see him get a few starts and you'll see him get a few innings in relief and then back to a few starts again. But I expect that Drew Rom's going to skyrocket up the Orioles prospect list, and you could see him enter the top 10 in the very near future. He's just dominating. He could even get promoted pretty soon. Again, 1 earned run in his last 39 2/3 innings pitched. That's insane no matter where you're pitching. Another guy who we were really hoping to see big things from, a former first-round pick, Cody Sedlock, 3-0, 1.44 ERA in 8 starts with Frederick right now. He's one of 7 Frederick Keys players that made the AllStar Team, joining pitchers Michael Ballman, David LeBron, Stephen Klimek, and position players Willie Yon, Zach Jarrett, and Cole Billingsley. For Sedlock, again, we mentioned that he's 3-0 with a 1.44 ERA. This is a guy who really struggled with injuries and effectiveness at Frederick each of the last 2 years. It's really nice to see him have some success. I still think that he has the potential to just be a late-inning power arm reliever, but we'll see how that goes. Pitching really well right now, and that's what you like to see. Another guy that we just mentioned who's an all-star for Frederick, Cole Billingsley. He was 19th round pick in 2016. He was hitting .336 with a .411 on-base percentage in 36 games with Frederick, which is why he's an all-star. But then he's been promoted to Bowie, really struggled, 1 for 9. That's a .111 batting average with a .200 on-base percentage. Pardon the voice crack. He twice stole 30 bases when he was in college. He stole 27 bases at Delmarva in 2017. Struggled at Frederick last year, batted just .208 in 121 games. He's a 25-year-old player, still playing. Well, just got promoted to Bowie. I don't know what you can expect from him if he makes a big league level. I think he's a little old to be just making it up to Bowie, but we'll see. Having a nice season for Frederick, struggling a little bit at Bowie, but hopefully he picks it up. And then Michael Bowman, another guy who was an all-star for the Keys, third-round pick in 2017, 1-4 with a 3.92 ERA. He went 13-5 with a 3.17 ERA between two levels last year, I believe, between Delmarva and Frederick. Really solid pitcher, always pitched well in college. He's had nothing but success at the minor league level, pitching really well and earning that all-star nod. And then the last guy we're going to talk about today, depending on which publication you read, he could be the Orioles' #1 or #2 prospect, D.L. Hall. 2-2 with a 3.92 ERA in 10 games, 9 starts at Frederick. He had a 2.10 ERA last year, which was the lowest of any pitcher in the entire organization. But he threw just 94 1/3 innings last year. This year, he's only got 39 innings in 10 games, so that's less than 4 innings an outing. He'll be 21 in September, and he's still pitching down at Frederick. I'm wondering when they're going to open him up and really take the reins off this guy and let him start building up some innings. He would have one of the highest velocities on his fastball of any left-handed pitcher in the major leagues right now. So he's definitely a highly touted prospect, somebody who I would love to see the Orioles really open up and let him start throwing some more innings, which they might do in the second half of the year, probably just monitoring his innings right now. But this is a guy who could really help the Orioles in the near future if they let him build up those innings. So that's going to do it for us here on the Payoff Pitch Prospect Report. Once again, I'm Paul Valley. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.